Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for checking it out if you're new. Today, we're doing a bit of a different video than usual, but as you've seen on this channel, my friends Morgan M. Steele and Sienna have worked very hard to educate me on Monster High, and with that has come the Skullector line. If you don't know, this is Monster High's high-end collector dolls that are kind of meant more for adults. And so I thought it would be fun because Morgan showed me the Michael Myers doll, which I think looks really cool. So I thought it would be fun to pitch my own version of what collectors I would want to see and what would maybe entice me to buy some. Because obviously, right now, I do not collect or buy any Monster High dolls. So, if you're not familiar with this line, this is, like I said, Mattel's high-end line of dolls, and they are borrowed IPs. They originally started as inspired by like Universal monsters or horror characters, but they've since expanded out to pretty much whatever franchise they can get the license for. So, like, you can see recently they've done Skeletor from Masters of the Universe, they've done the Xenomorph from Alien, they've done the the Sanderson sisters from Hocus Pocus. So they have done all sorts of different dolls. So again, I thought it would be fun today to do my little wish list of dolls that I would buy if they existed. Now that being said, please note this is just a fun, silly little video. I am not a Monster High collector, so I do not know all the lore and the tidbits, as well as I don't know any of the licensing things when it comes to dolls. Like I know toy licensing because I do collect, Star Wars and DC superhero action figures. But I don't know doll licenses, so these are purely just if this is an imaginary world where no licensing rights are a problem, these are the dolls I would create. I feel I should also put at the beginning of the video here that I was trying to think of kind of weird or out of the box choices. Obviously, characters like Darth Vader or the Joker are iconic, but I feel like those are easy pickings versus I wanted to kind of stick with the horror slash some obscure characters or characters who don't really get any merchandise or dolls in the first place. So, first up, we're starting off with a couple of DC supervillains that I think would make good collectors. And I'm going to start off with Two-Face. First of all, I think his animated series look would make for a fun doll, specifically with the blue divide, the blue skin. However, you could also definitely use the Tommy Lee Jones design because it's a more eccentric suit that you could make for a more fun outfit on a doll, and it would have the pink slash purple, which is more kind of aligned with Monster High colors, but his blue skin is also like the Monster High logo. But yeah, I believe this is Ghoulia, if I remember correctly, G3 Ghoulia. And I just put her here because I think she could be a good base for what you would base this Two Face off of. I'm also not sticking to like gender of like they have to be boys if they're boys because the Skullectors have done that where like Pennywise is a girl doll. So there are some boy dolls on this list, but I'm mostly envisioning them as ghouls. All right, so next up, again, sticking with DC, we have my favorite Batman villain, and that's Mr. Freeze. Of course, his animated series look is iconic, but what I really think they should use is the Arnold Schwarzenegger version, where he is the metal plating and the crazy suit with the blue skin. Again, Monster High loves their blue skin, so they already have plenty of dolls and plenty of plastic with that coloring. I believe this is Abby. Like, she could be a good base to use to then make the Arnold one, where you would again have like metal plating and the freeze gun as an accessory. All right, next up. This one was kind of from Morgan slash. It feels like it's too simple, too much of a gimme, but that's Pamela Isley. You could, of course, again go with her animated series look, but it's kind of a boring outfit. I really think you do have to use Uma Thurman's look so that you can do the buns on top of her head, as well as her accessories, and again, her outfit's not the most straightforward. You might have to take some liberties with the outfit, but I definitely think they have to do the hair buns for a doll. And again, this is Venus McFlytrap, if I've done my research correctly. So again, you have like kind of a character that you could use if they want to, because sometimes the Skullectors are like Monster High character. Like the Dracula is very clearly like Draculara dressed as Dracula. And so again, you could use this mold as a jumping off point. Okay, stick with me on this next one, because this is where the list starts to get a little weird. But a lot of the Skullectors are villains. They've been mostly horror villains, but they are venturing out. Like you saw Skeletor has a doll now. So I think another Hasbro license and is also owned by Paramount. So this company, this franchise shares the toy and film rights with the same companies. And I think we need to put Starscream and Megatron as Skullector dolls. I think they would be fun. I think it would give a challenge to the team to create these two specifically. Their Gen 1 looks like you see here. I'm not asking for you to use the live action Dorito design, but I think these are, especially Starscream. Starscream is just such a fun color dynamic that I really think they could have some fun. Like, think their shoes would have to be boots. So the Starscream doll, she would have like some blue and silver boots, and then she could have her little red outfit while being the red eyes too would have to be carried over. She could have long gloves for the hands, or they could go like metal arm, like try to actually make her look like a robot. But again, I think these two would be really fun. Okay, so sticking with the villains, this next one, we're jumping over franchises. Again, I don't know the licensing, but I think Willem Dafoe's Sam Raimi Goblin, complete with her glider, could be a really fun doll. Especially if, while I love this classic look, if they went with the look from No Way Home, where, she has the hood and the goggles, and again, she would be on the glider, or at least have the ability to have the glider as an accessory, I think they could do something really fun. Again, I'm picturing a girl doll, not one that looks like Willem Dafoe. And when it comes to accessories, of course, she'd have to have pumpkin bombs. Also, the hood would have to be fabric. I'm saying that now because I know somewhere in the Mattel offices they would be like, okay, yeah, just a plastic. No, she needs to be able to put it up and down. Like, that's a no-brainer. All right, sticking with the comic books, I believe this is my last comic book suggestion, but I just think Rorschach would be a fun design for the Skullectors. I know he kind of blends the, like, they're mostly villains. They don't really do the heroes too much, but I mean, like, they've done, like, Wednesday Addams. So, yeah, I think Rorschach, because I just think the like trench coat look with the hat would be fun, especially if they do it like form fitting, that kind of look, where it's like a tight and sleek design. I think again the mask has to be fabric. Like I can see where in a world where they would try to go for like a plastic or rubber mask, and I don't think it works. I think it does need to be a fabric mask. The only problem with the fabric mask is what do you do with the doll's hair? And I don't know, give her a ponytail sticking out the back of the mask. Okay, are you ready, Mattel? I'm gonna give you like instant, infinite money glitch. Print money straight off the press into your pocket. And that is, of course, Smoke and Stack from Sinners. The Sinners girlies are dying for merch. And again, you could do either one with this. You could do them as two Michael B. Jordans, or you could make them girls. But either way, I think especially these outfits with their hats and their suits would very much so sell. Like, they would go straight. Pre-orders are sold out instantly. Another two-pack that could be fun is Paul and Chani from Dune. I think the still suits could create an interesting challenge for Mattel because they are pretty much a full body one piece. But I also know that could be a little restricting to the dolls. Like these would be kind of more, very much so collector. You're not going to take them out of the box, you're going to set them on the shelf. But again, they could both have their chist knives as accessories, as well as you could give them their robes to give them some flow and some extra fabric. And lucky for Mattel, both Timothée Chalamet and Zendaya have long hair, so you can give them actual material hair to be able to brush. Okay, this next one was actually a suggestion from friend of the channel Phil with 1L, and that would be Ash Williams from The Evil Dead. I used this image because this is the outfit I think they would have to use, because if you've seen those movies, Ash is kind of running around with half a shirt on. You know, he gets pretty tore up. And obviously, Monster High, with them being mostly female dolls, are not going to have them running around with their chest hanging out. So I think they would have to use this design, which is from the TV show, where he, of course, is fully covered, you know, head to toe. But I think you could have fun with the chainsaw hand, whether it's actually the doll's hand, or if it's an accessory, or it's on their hand but can come off and be held so that you can pose your doll or do whichever way you want with her. Editor Connor here to also mention that I can't believe I forgot to say that this doll, of course, has to come with its own Necronomicon. I mean, Evil Dead is an iconic horror franchise, so I am surprised they haven't gotten to this with how many horror franchises they have done in the Skullector line. And even if you don't want to do the chainsaw hand, because I can't think of, I haven't looked into it enough, if the Skullector dolls, if any of them, no, the Michael Myers one does have like a knife, so they do come with weapons. I was going to say, because if they don't want to do weapons, he does have his robot hand that he gets in the TV show that you could give the doll, which would still be like a cute little accessory that you could add on. All right, this next one might be stretching it, but again, I was trying to think of like horror or scary villains. And I was thinking Immortan Joe from Mad Max Fury Road. Again, I'm picturing a girl doll, so we're gonna have to do something about the whole chest piece, and you know, I don't know if the cod piece is exactly gonna work out with Monster High trying to still appeal to children, even though the collectors are for adults. But again, I think you could do something with the hair and the faceplate that could make an interesting, fun little doll. Spinning off of that Immortan Joe idea, obviously you could also do Furiosa. I think her robot hand would make for a cool way to work with the doll and make her different from the other Skullectors and Monster High dolls. However, I'm also aware that the bald dolls don't sell as well. So obviously, I do think you have to go with the Charlize Theron look if you're going to do it. But at the same time, if they wanted to use the Anya Taylor-Joy to be able to give her hair, that would be okay too. I just don't think her younger look is as iconic or striking as her Fury Road outfit. Okay, I know I've said some crazy stuff and some nonsense in this video so far, but this is maybe my magnum opus. This is maybe too far of an idea. But I think if they could pull this off, it would be a crazy doll that a lot of people would maybe buy, I would hope would buy. And that's Jean Jacket from Nope. Yes. And specifically in his or her, it's folded out form like this. Like it would be a lot of wiring inside cloth fabric, like not plastic. I'm talking wired fabric, like cape material. And you would kind of have to give it form. Like I'm thinking this when at the end of the movie when it flies up and has this kind of shape to it, you know, essentially add some legs and some arms to this shape. And but I do still want like the flow. Like you have to be able to capture just how wide and big this creature is. But again, I think there's something there. Again, it's kind of a ridiculous thought, but I think there's something there. If you can capture the flowiness of this with a lot of fabric. I mean, they have the corpse bride, who she has like her veil and her bridal train. So I think there's something here. Mattel, look into this. Like, I think you could make it work. All right, this is my last pitch here, and this is a 2-pack for you, Mattel. And again, I think this is trying to strike when the iron is hot. Maybe these wouldn't sell as well, but I'd buy them. So just hear me out. And that's Louis and Lestat from Interview with the Vampire, specifically the version of them from the new TV show. Of course, the Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise movie is iconic, and I guess you could make those and they would sell. But I think more people would buy these versions. They'd have to be a 2-pack. Like, I know they just did the Valentine one. I don't know. Morgan's talked about it. They're not my dog. I don't know this. But they've done 2-packs before. And I know the boy dolls don't sell. But you do have the benefit of Lestat has long, flowy hair. So you can make him have material hair that can be brushed and combed, so to speak. Louis, of course, you can also give him fabric hair because I know the girlies don't like the molded hair, but obviously his hair's not as long as Lestat's, so there's not as much to work with. But what you do have to work with, Mattel, and hear me out on this, these two have so many outfits they wear in the show. So you have so many different options of what you want to put them in, or you could really milk it and make multiples. There is a lot to, I feel like there's a lot to work with here, but maybe I'm just crazy. So, with that, those were my pitches and my ideas for what Monster High could do when it comes to creating Skullector dolls that would get the attention of a wider audience, or at least myself. Again, these are all crazy, ridiculous ideas that exist in an imaginary world where licensing is no problem, and Mattel has infinite budget to make my insane jean jacket flowy doll that has wired caping and is, yeah, would probably cost $150, but I would buy it. I don't know. Let me know what you think of my ideas in the comments down below. If you liked what you saw here and want to see more, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you know when that next one's coming. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.